So I also want to let you know that you're not in for Death by PowerPoint. It's 8 p.m. midweek, so as you will see as we go through the slides, I like to keep things light, especially when we're talking about money. So that's terrific. All right, I've got one yes from Chris. Can anyone else hear me? Anyone else on the line? Can you let me know if you can hear me in the chat box? I think I've got some raised hands. I think that's right. Okay, I'll take that as though you can hear me. There is a chat box just a bit further down where you can type messages in. Oh, perfect. I see all your yeses. That's terrific. All right. Well, now that I've got that under control, let's get on with this evening's presentation. All right. For your viewing pleasure. Now, you've made the effort to be here tonight with me, ladies, so to make a difference in your financial life. So for your viewing pleasure and to give yourself the opportunity to really take it all in, if you can, turn off all distractions. Put your phone on silent, maybe close Facebook, dare I say it. They'll all still be there when you jump off this webinar, but how often do you really get the chance to engage with your finances? So make this all about you. Now, as promised, I promised a bonus for turning up live to tonight's webinar that you will all receive a copy of my Budget Blueprint, which is a busy mum's guide to budgets that work. And this guide is a how-to guide which takes you through how to set up and start automating your budget at home. And it's a really handy little guide, so I'll post a download link to this blueprint towards the end of the presentation, so make sure you stick around for that. And a little bit later on, I have a bit of a surprise I want to share with you all as well, but I will be talking about this a bit later on for those of you who stay right till the end with me. And there'll be a 15-minute Q&A for anyone who has any questions from tonight's webinar. So be sure to stick around for that because I'm happy to talk with you about anything that you might think of as we go through the slides. So let's get stuck in. Start by telling me, do you feel overwhelmed by your finances? And you can answer in the chat box, yay, nay, sometimes. Where the to-do list of managing your money seems to never end and you honestly feel like you're throwing darts against the board when it comes to financial decision making. About 50% of the time, all the time. Yep. Or perhaps you're worried you should be doing something about your finances, but you don't know where to start. And it's likely at some stage you've thought about how to go about getting on top of your credit card or other personal debts, if you have them, or working out how to make the most of your superannuation, especially given all the press about Australian women retiring poor in their old age. And making sure your family is protected with the right insurances, but you've got no idea what insurances you should have or how much. And even though you have all these questions and worries, maybe you're not ready to see a financial advisor. Perhaps you don't feel the cost is justified right now, or someone you know has had a bad experience with one and you just don't know who to go see. But searching the internet for answers leaves you with information overload. We've all been there, searching the World Wide Web for the perfect answer to our specific problem, whatever it is. But all you really end up with when you do that is more information to process and digest that you don't really have time for. And it's not just that. So much of what is out there is overly complicated and designed very much for investors seeking investment advice, which leaves most people wondering what they're missing or whether it's written in a different language even. And then there's the more motivational sides, with advice and one-liners like spend less than you earn and invest the rest wisely. Great advice, but most people know that much already, and the devil's in the detail, and that's what's needed to take action. So if you're all shaking heads in agreement at this point, then you are in the right place. You're exactly where you should be tonight, and we're going to be getting relevant and practical about your household finances. Here's what you want to know. You want to know how to spend less, save more, and get on track with your finances as a whole. You want to know what you can do now to see real results with your finances in your day-to-day life, because that's where you see results straight away. You want to know what you can do now that will set you and your family up for a better financial future, because that's what gives you peace of mind. And how do I know all of this? Well, it's a simple story, but a real one. That's me on the left many years ago when I first started working as a financial advisor. I sat across the table from families just like yours for years who wanted and needed help with their finances. And I listened to their concerns, their challenges, and their goals for themselves and their families, and how mums in particular generally felt overwhelmed by the finances. But I couldn't really relate at that point in my life. And then fast forward some years, but around 2.5 years ago now, I had a little girl. She's a bit older than that now, obviously, and became a mum myself. And I continued to see how common the feelings of stress and overwhelm were among other mums when it came to household finances. And these experiences have taught me that motherhood equals busyness. With new priorities, less time, and more demands on our time, all this equates to a lack of time to study up on what you ought to know about managing money. And we're not taught this stuff at all, anywhere. Personal finance and money management is not taught at school. And what we learn, if anything, from our parents is more caught than taught, including their bad habits. And that as a family, we have more debt, less incomes, higher expenses, and little savings compared to other stages of our lives. So having a family ultimately means increased financial responsibilities with fewer financial resources. It's no wonder that all this leaves so many mums with their head comfortably in the sand, feeling like there has to be a better way to handle all this. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is. It's not easy, but it's not complicated either. You just need someone to walk you through a better way. The one thing that everyone who successfully manages their own finances has in common is that they have a plan. And I don't mean a financial plan in the traditional sense necessarily, but a plan nonetheless that articulates what they want and what they need to do to get there. Now, I'll admit, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and the same can be said for managing your money. And that's what makes money such a personal matter. However, you have to know and agree that a plan is better than no plan. You need a plan to achieve a confident and financial organised life. And the 7-step plan that I'll be sharing with you will make sure you are well on your way to managing your finances with direction, consistency, and success. So are you ready to get stuck into these steps? Yes? No? Excited? Terrific. In the slides to follow, you will see some slides with a take action bubble in the top right corner. So if you write these things down, you'll walk away with 7 actionable steps to take away from tonight's web class, which will help shift you into doing mode, and you'll walk away with something you can actually do that will give you some real results straight away. And that's what tonight's all about. So step 1 of my 7-step plan is assume control. Now, I'm not going to give you any positive money affirmations or anything, so don't worry, but it would be remiss of me to overlook the importance of mindset altogether when we're talking about money. Managing your money is not just about having information and knowing the rules. There are umpteen blog posts and news articles written every day about how to manage your money, and there's literally a wealth of information washing around the world and the World Wide Web when it comes to personal finances. So if the answer to successful money management was as simple as being taught more about money, well, we'd all be multimillionaires. And the reason that's not the case, however, is because managing your money isn't just about knowledge and personal finance rules. It's about behaviour, which is closely tied to our money mindset or how we think about money. There's a famous quote by Ayn Rand, who was a Russian-born American novelist and philosopher. I didn't know that much about him until today, which says, "Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it will not replace you as the driver." So while it's important to have the right information and knowledge, it's just as important to have the right mindset. Your mindset is what motivates or inspires you to take a particular course of action and stay the course. And all the information in the world won't help you if your behaviour or the way you handle your finances doesn't support you. So to do this, you essentially need to move from a reactive state of mind to a proactive state of mind in order to take control properly. And when you consciously look at your financial life and make decisions on a forward-thinking basis, rather than as they just come up or as they start to impact you negatively. So this is how a lot of mums feel when it comes to their financial circumstances. Overwhelmed, out of control, and unsure of what to deal with first. Everything's happening to them or around them. Financial decisions, though, are a part of everyday life, whether we're looking for ways to save, deciding which credit card represents the best value, choosing a home loan, comparing insurance policies, or even planning for our retirement if you've got that far. It's easy to get overwhelmed by everything you're expected to know and do, and that is when most people come unstuck and end up doing nothing, which simply exacerbates the situation. And it's not an unexpected situation given the lack of time we have to dedicate thinking through everything, learning what we need to know from scratch in most cases, and the fact that a lot of families are simply just trying to make ends meet most of the time. But the answer or antidote to those feelings comes from having a plan. And having a plan will make a huge difference to your financial well-being and your peace of mind. So what is this plan I speak of? The plan is to put yourself at the centre of your financial life. I like to call it promoting yourself to family CFO or Chief Financial Officer. It takes you from a situation where you are catching up with your finances to being in a position where you're in control of your family's finances. And this is extremely effective for families and for mums in particular because you start to see the big picture. It forces you to view your finances as a whole because too often as mums we find ourselves simply working to pay our bills, looking just at the budget and promising to ourselves that we'll try to work everything else out later. It promotes cohesion. You can then work together with your partner to identify and prioritise your short and long-term financial goals as a family. And you begin to look more critically at your circumstances. So as if you were a business, you will start to look for opportunities to save or invest. You'll look at opportunities for cost cutting, look at ways to earn additional income, whether your assets are invested appropriately and whether you're insured adequately, whether you've looked at all your risks. But before you can start making decisions on your finances, you have to know where you're going first and what you're wanting to achieve, what your ideal family life looks like. And we all have dreams, ambitions and goals. Maybe it's holidays or travel opportunities with family. Or maybe you're at the stage of wanting to buy your first home or renovate a home you already have. Or perhaps you really want to start a business to work from home or be able to work from anywhere, including poolside. Or maybe you want to stay at home with the kids and not have to go back to work. Whatever it is, it's important to identify it, visualize it, and use it as a motivating factor to help you take control. And once you allow yourself to focus on what you want or you're striving for, then it's so much easier to take control of your financial situation. So here's our first take action bubble for this evening. Now most of us don't ever really get the chance to sit down and consciously think about our ideal life. Who has time for that, right? So I want you to use this opportunity to take action for yourself and write down your family's top 3 financial goals. And if you're not into writing goals down, that's fine. Just think about them. Maybe draw a picture. Short term or long term, it doesn't matter. Just your 3 biggest financial priorities. And now you'll have something to start building your own plan around. Step 2, get organised. You knew there had to be something about being organised in here, right? You need a system. I don't really need to spend a lot of time explaining why this is important, but now that you have a fresh approach to tackling your household finances like a CFO or a Chief Financial Officer, you will find it very difficult to take control without a system to support you. So who has a system for managing their finances at home that works? Anyone? Yes, no, sort of. As a busy mum, you surely understand the power of organisation, the magic it creates in your household where everything just works when it's there. And you also likely know what the opposite looks like, which is chaos. If you don't have one that works though, here's how I do it. You can steal mine. I like to keep things really simple, and mine is definitely not the prettiest of systems, but in my opinion it's important to keep things simple, especially when it comes to matters of finance. So the system I like to use has just 2 steps, which keeps it practical and easy. It does the job. You create an action file. It's a tabletop file for daily short-term filing. Not everything can be dealt with right away. That's just life. Filing it away, though, in your permanent system means it will be forgotten, and leaving it on the dining room table or on the coffee table is the road back to clutter. And then step 2 is create a filing system. It's your household's working or permanent filing system. You may choose to keep it in a filing cabinet, or if you don't have one of those, you could use a series of labelled ring binders. But this is where you file paperwork that you need to keep a hard copy of, either as it comes in if there's nothing to be done, or once you've taken action on it from the action file, file it away. The next thing I tell people to do is create a digital command center. So you do this by firstly creating a master folder on your computer and just label it Your Name Family Finances. The next thing is you'd create subfolders for all your electronic bills and payments by service provider within that master folder. I like to advise people to create a financial inventory list, which is basically a 1-page summary of all your bank accounts, loans, credit cards, insurance policies, investment and super accounts. So you have a snapshot summary of your financial life on 1 page, which makes it really easy to refer to when you're either inquiring about any of those products or you want to actually take stock of what you've got going on in your financial life. I also suggest putting a copy of your working budget, and if you calculate your net position, and if you have an investment plan, if you're at that stage yet, in there as well. So our second step is create an action file. Take action this weekend. Just use an in-tray or a desktop file, just something that will hold loose papers only, nothing too permanent. We just want you to be encouraged to put things there. Once they've been handled, they're filed away into your permanent filing system. That's it. Small step, but it has a huge impact on clutter. Step number 3, a working budget. A working budget is crucial to taking control of your finances, but it's the one thing that so many people fail to do well, if at all. Self-employment, part-time work, and dropping to a single income can wreak havoc on a household budget if you don't know how to budget properly. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel with your budget? Well, 6 is pretty good. 7. 7. Got some good budgeters in here. Go ladies. I like to keep things light, if you can tell by my pictures. Okay. Limitation, deprivation, frugality. These are common misconceptions about budgeting that turn people off. People associate budgeting with having to make your own laundry powder and only ever wearing hand-me-downs. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those things if any of you ladies do them. I'm just saying people often associate sacrifice with budgeting. But the reality is that budgeting does involve some compromise, but it's a personal compromise, which means it's up to you to decide what it is that stays and what it is that has to go. There's no master list of expenses that everyone operating on a budget works to. A budget is simply a plan for your cash flow. Families have lots of expenses like mortgage repayment or cars, insurances, medical expenses, childcare and schooling, the list goes on. And at a very basic level, you cannot possibly hope to manage your household finances well if you don't know what it costs you to live and you don't know what capacity you have to save or repay debt. And without a budget, you are essentially walking around in the dark, hoping not to bump into anything. So there's 3 real keys to a working budget, and people don't often realise what's involved in budgeting correctly. Most of the time people assume that a budget is a plan, and then once they've done the numbers, they're done. Every now and then they might come back and revisit the spreadsheet, and they may even quickly rejig the numbers if things have changed, if they're really good. But a working budget really has 3 essential components. There's the plan, which is writing out the budget. Then there's the automation, which is the execution of the budget, because if you don't execute on the budget, then it's not happening. And then there's the monitoring or tracking of the budget, which is comparing the planned against the actual, because how else will you know what's happening and how you're going? You need all 3 steps to close the loop on unsuccessful budgeting. And it might sound like a lot of work, but in reality it's not. With the right setup and the right tools to help you, it's really quite simple and becomes really automatic. But where some of you might be getting stuck is families in particular have circumstances that present challenges to household budgeting. So irregular and single incomes, when one partner takes time off work to be with the kids, can put a strain on cash flow, which makes having a working budget so important. Unplanned expenses, things like accidents, family emergency, car repairs, washing machine blows up after the millionth load. And then the last one is a tricky one, spending on the kids. New clothes, toys, gifts for friends, outings to the movies and the zoo, activities. Some of these things are unavoidable and are just part of having kids, but it pays to be aware and be mindful of what's unavoidable and what is avoidable. So your takeaway from this point is saving money is the first step to financial independence. You need a household budget to be in control of your finances, and that budget needs to be a reflection of your financial priorities as a family so you'll work to it and so you'll stick to it. Take action. This is something I tell people that I work with on budgeting. Write down 3 things that you can't sacrifice from your expenditure, 3 things that make you happy. They might be things like your morning coffee or your weekend breakfast with friends or your gym membership. Make these your priorities, your non-negotiables when you're making a plan for your money. You won't stick to a budget if you aren't happy in your day-to-day life. So it's really important that you factor in what's workable for you. Step 4, prioritise eliminating personal debt. So this is the credit card debt clock available or displayed on the Money Smart website. I'm sure some of you have probably seen it before. And the clock estimates the total amount of debt on credit cards that's accruing interest based on the Reserve Bank of Australia statistics. And as you can see, there's about 32 billion worth of credit card debt, which equates to around just over 4,000 per card holder in Australia, which is quite significant. And then there's levels of household debt in Australia. When we talk about household debt, I'm talking about mortgages, credit cards, overdrafts and personal loans. Australian households have reached extremely high levels of debt to income, higher than any comparable economy in the world, in fact. And we are the most indebted in the world when it comes to levels of household debt compared to GDP. According to ANZ's NatSim Buy Now Pay Later study, which was released in 2015, the average Australian household now has 4 times more debt than it did only 27 years ago. But what you need to know is that some debt is a reality of a modern life. And where most people come unstuck is that they don't know how to manage it wisely. You'll have to excuse me, I've got a terrible cold from my 2-year-old. So my top tips for eliminating your personal debt is avoid personal debt as a first point of call. Personal debt prevents you from saving and investing because if you're carrying personal debt like outstanding balances on your credit cards and personal loans, the repayment of that debt has to be your financial priority. And it makes no sense to save money when anything you earn on that money is entirely eaten away by the cost of carrying debt somewhere else. So it essentially stalls your ability to get ahead financially. And if you think of it that way, it's a terrific deterrent for going into debt if you can avoid it, if you're focused on taking control of your finances and getting ahead. But sometimes debt is unavoidable. Family emergencies, medical emergencies, the car parking it are all possibilities. And if you don't have enough saved, debt can be the only tool available to you. So in this case, the best advice is to pay attention to how it works, or not just learn how it works. Understand how your credit card's interest-free period works, and that your interest-free period isn't based on when you make a purchase, it's based on your statement cycle. So know your statement cycle. Compare interest rates and features on personal loans. So for example, the flexibility to repay a debt earlier so you can save additional interest. Some loans don't provide that flexibility, so you can be locked into making repayments over a longer period of time and paying more interest. Understanding how these tools work means you're more likely to get out of debt quicker and you minimize the impact on getting ahead financially. And the third tip is know how to pay it off. So you need to be smart about paying off your debt and make it a priority. So look at consolidation. If you have multiple loans, you could look to consolidate them and see if that reduces the overall interest payable. Or look at balance transfers. If you have credit card debt, this could be a short-term option, but you do need to be committed to paying off the debt in the interest-free period and not get caught hopping from card to card. Or even look to create an additional income stream. So rather than wait for a pay rise or a bonus or a promotion, can you do something now that will create some additional cash flow purely to service your debt? Do you have skills that lend themselves to some freelancing work, for example? Or could you sell something? There's many ways to be creative with creating an additional income stream. And if you create one for the sole purpose of applying it to that debt, then you'll find you'll pay it off much quicker. If you were to wait for a pay rise or a bonus or a windfall of sorts, what you'll find is that money never really ends up going to boring things like paying off debt. So your takeaway is make the repayment of personal debts a priority because all it does is prevent you from working towards your financial future through saving and investment. Take action. Find out what your credit card statement period is. Most people don't know, and it's extremely helpful to know so that you avoid unnecessary interest charges. And then you can plan when you make purchases for bigger ticket items. So a lot of people just pay off their credit card at the end of the calendar month thinking, well, they've cleared the balance, you know, it's paid off. But your account might be due payable on the 15th of the month because your statement cycle is from midway of the month to the midway of the next month. So if you wait till the 30th of the last month to pay, you actually start accruing interest. So it pays to check. Step 5, make a plan B. Now, it can be really tricky to talk about life insurance with your partner or even spend the time thinking about it yourself. And this is a little life insurance joke I like to use to bring a little humour to what can be an awkward conversation for some. But all jokes aside, insurance really is a key component of taking control of your finances for the simple reason that without it, you leave yourself exposed to a large amount of risk. But before we look at what that risk is, I have some questions for you. So tell me, who insures their home and contents? What about their car? Pet? Who insures their health with health insurance? And what about your iPhone? Who insures their iPhone? Most of us insure our iPhone these days. But why do you insure all of these things? See, most people make a decision to insure something because they excuse me, because they acknowledge the risk associated with not insuring that thing, and B, they acknowledge they couldn't afford to replace it. But it's staggering how many people don't see that that also applies to their most valuable asset, which is themselves, and more specifically, their ability to generate an income for themselves and their family. Let's look at the plan again, where you're the family CFO of your household. This is where organising your insurances fits into things. And if you look around the circle at the other factors required for financial success, so things like managing debt, investing for the future, getting your super on track, managing and planning your cash flow, each of these aspects of your financial life would be severely impacted if you or your partner were to suffer illness, injury, or death. So on a scale of 1 to 10, who feels confident that they have the right amount of insurance cover? Well, some of you do. Terrific. Some not so much, but it's good to see that people that do and people that are thinking about this already. But for the people that don't, you're not alone, in fact. In fact, underinsurance is a significant problem in Australia when we're talking specifically about life insurance. And according to a research report from LifeWise, in 2010, 1 in 5 families will be impacted by the serious accident or illness that renders one parent unable to work. And 95% of families do not have adequate levels of life insurance, meaning they will need to rely on some combination of savings, welfare, and the fire sale of assets, which essentially means being forced to sell your assets at a value less than what they're actually worth. But here's some more facts. A recent survey by Zurich Australia found that 58% of Australian families could survive less than 3 months with zero income before needing to sell assets, and 38% felt they could survive less than 1 month if they or their partner became sick or injured and couldn't work. So your takeaway from this step is that life insurance is a solution to the financial consequences of risk. People have various opinions about life insurance, and there's various reasons why people decide not to insure themselves. But it's just worth noting that really all life insurance is a solution to the financial consequence of risk. You always have the option to self-insure with assets or savings if you have them, but you need to know what this is and what it's likely to cost and what the realities of self-insurance might look like. And those are things like potentially moving house or schools, needing to find a new job, or re-enter the workforce if you're not working, to support the family. There's a range of different scenarios, but they're all personal decisions at the end of the day. And as long as you are aware of what they are and you've made that decision as a family, then that's going to be the right decision for you. your take action. Find out, for those of you who weren't exactly feeling confident about how much insurance they had, find out how much life insurance you do have. Check inside your super fund. You may have seen issues with insurance, issued with insurance as part of your current employment that you're unaware of. Take the time to review what you have and start to think about whether it's enough. Okay, moving on, step 6, start a future fund. There aren't many millionaires who save their way to real wealth, and savings are important, but although they make a terrific parking spot for your money, they do make a terrible investment choice over the long term. Why? The basic reason is due to inflation. The money that you keep in your pocket or under the mattress or even in the bank over time loses its purchasing power thanks to inflation, which is just an increase in the cost of goods over time. The only way to outrun inflation is to put your money into something that generates a higher return than the rate at which it's being eaten away. So once you've paid off personal debt and you've accumulated enough savings to meet your short-term needs if necessary, starting a small investment portfolio needs to be the next step in taking control of your finances. But what holds most women back is a lack of confidence. I like to preface this point or this step by stating that you'll never know everything about investing. Not even the smartest men or women in the room can claim to know everything about investing. It's just such a broad area of finance. But as women, and I know myself, we tend to like to know as much as we can, if not everything, before we jump into something new. But when it comes to investing, this is just an impossibility. And all it really does is hold you back from making an educated, small start that you can build on. So this graph shows the value of $1 invested in various assets since 1900. And despite periodic setbacks, which are just the little black arrows tracking sideways, shares and other growth assets have provided a much higher return over the long term than cash and bank deposits or bonds. Now, while past performance is no indication of future performance, the graph does confirm what we generally know to be true about investing in shares, which is that the expected returns of investing in shares are higher than savings and bonds. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. This is a famous Chinese proverb used often in the context of investing for the future. When it comes to investing, one of the biggest natural advantages you have is time. Let's look at a little example to illustrate the importance or the advantage of time. The reason it's an advantage is due to the magic of compound interest. And the best way to take advantage of compound interest is to start sooner rather than later. So let's look at the case of two mums, Emily and Kate. Emily is 30 and decides it's time to make an investment. She invests with $5,000 and makes a regular investment of $50 per week over the next 10 years. Kate decides, on the other hand, to wait 5 years and then invests her $5,000 at $35. She then doubles Emily's regular investment and puts $100 per week into her portfolio over the next 5 years, and she does that to try and catch up or play catch up given she waited longer to start investing. And at the end of the 10 years, Emily still has more in her account with just over $41,000, despite the fact that Kate doubled her regular investment. So the point of all this is to illustrate that it's time in the market more than how much you invest that makes the difference. Confidence is born of understanding the basics and having a plan. And once you know the basics and have some direction, it really isn't all that scary to take the first step off the boat, so to speak. But where do you start? Well, here's a quick summary of the key elements of a really good plan for getting started with investing. So it starts with learning. Know the basics, the fundamentals of investing, understanding things like compound interest, risk versus return, how the share market works overall. You don't need to get specific because, as I said, you'll never know everything, and the difference between active and passive investments. Then work out your goals, the things you want and the reasons you're investing. Think back to that slide we did earlier with the images of what you want out of life. You don't need to spend hours doing this because you know what you want in life instinctively. A family home, a comfortable retirement. Then you need to put a time on those things. Work out how long your funds will be invested for based on those goals. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? The next step is to look at your appetite for risk. So how you feel about losing money in the share market. Are you a risk taker or an aggressive investor, or are you a bit risk averse, so a more conservative investor? And then you need to just look at what investment choices fit with all of those pre-selected things. So is it shares? Is it managed funds? Is it ETFs? Once you've made a decision and invested, you just then need to keep tabs on everything to make sure it's moving you closer to your goals over time. And if it's not, you make some changes. But if investing is something that's 100% new to you, then I can understand how you may want to just dip your toe in first. And Acorns is an investment app that basically allows you to open an investment account within a matter of minutes with whatever sum of money you feel comfortable with. There's no minimums. You could start with $20. Has anyone heard of Acorns before? Right. Acorns then invests that money for you according to your risk profile, and you can watch how it performs from your iPhone, which helps you get comfortable with the idea of investing. You can withdraw your money at any time, and you can also make regular deposits. And what makes Acorns unique is that it can regular invest for you with roundups. And all this is the app links to your everyday transaction account, and every time you make a purchase, so every time you buy a coffee, for example, for $3.50, it would round up that purchase to $4 and invest that 50 cents into your portfolio. So they're real micro financial commitments, but you get the exposure that you need to how the stock market works. So you can see how your money performs based on how you've chosen to invest it. And the key is to get started as soon as appropriate. So if you have personal debt, then that needs to be a priority for sure. But as with anything in life, we have the ability to act or procrastinate. Make the time to teach yourself what you need to know and then just make a start. Start small, but start soon. So your take action for investing is to look up acorns.com.au to see whether it's something you might like to try out. There's a lot of information on the site, and you can download the app and have a look around without having to make any commitment in any case. The final step in my seven steps, is make friends with your super. Most of us don't really think about retirement. It's kind of something for our future selves to deal with. We've got kids, school, a house to run, work or businesses to run, all keeping us preoccupied right now. And we've all seen people we know retire. Everyone does it. So it'll just happen one day, right? Well, yes and no. Yes, everyone eventually stops working at some point, but the difference is what and how they enjoy their retirement once they do. So according to ANZ's Women's Report on Gender Equity, which was released in 2015, women will retire on average with around half as much super as men. 37% of women report having no personal income in retirement, and about 90% of women will retire with inadequate savings to fund a comfortable lifestyle in retirement. But what is a comfortable retirement, right? That's a very objective term. So what's comfortable for someone might be uncomfortable for another. We all, live within different means. But according to ASFA, which is the Association of Superannuation Funds in Australia, a modest retirement for a couple costs around $34,000 per annum. The $23,000 is for a single. And for a comfortable retirement, it would cost a couple close to $60,000 a year. Now, if you think about what your lifestyle costs you now and then discount it by a number commensurate to what your kids cost you now or your mortgage costs you now, then you can start to think about whether that number hits the mark, so to speak. And the next step is then to work out what kind of lump sum you'll need to accumulate in order to fund that lifestyle. But first tell me, who knows how much superannuation they have, roughly? Yes? Oh, you ladies are on the mark. All right. Who knows what funds their money is invested in or how their super's invested? Right. And who knows who their super will be left to or who's made a nomination? Right. Well, according to AFSFA, 81% of Australian women are not engaged with their superannuation, which is just a statistic that's hardly surprising given how much media attention superannuation gets. But 3 good reasons to know or to engage is that women have a longer life expectancy. Women typically earn less than men, and women take longer breaks from the workforce to raise a family. But what you really want to know is what you need to do about it, right? So the first and the easiest step is to work out what you have, and that includes looking at what you might be missing. So there's 16.8 billion in lost superannuation, and as women with families, our workforce participation is the highest among part-time and casual positions. So even more so with women with young families, and super is easily lost with this type of movement in employment. The next bit is to know the cost. Look at the fees you're paying. A report by the Grattan Institute in 2014 found that high average fees can, over the lifetime your funds are invested, can reduce retirement income by up to 20%, which is significant when you really think about it. It's easy to find out what you're paying, you just need to ask your super fund. And it's the little things. If you can find the money, this is a great way to get a tax-free cash boost of up to $500 into your super account. So for every dollar that you contribute after tax to your super fund, the government will co-contribute 50 cents up to a maximum of $500. So if you make a $1,000 after-tax contribution to your super fund, the government will contribute another $500 on your behalf. Now, there's a few eligibility criteria around the government contribution in terms of what you earn, but roughly if you earn less than $35,000 a year, you'd be eligible for the full contribution. And if you earn up to $50,000 a year, you would qualify for a part co-contribution. So as a mum who's working at home or being at home looking after the kids, this can be a real kicker for your super balance over the years you are out of the workforce. And I'll show you the impact. So if all you did was contribute an additional $1,500 per annum, so that's made up of your $1,000 contribution and the $500 co-contribution from the government, you can see the difference in the account balance at retirement age is around $142,000. Now this example is based on a 30-year-old retiring at 67, so this investment is over 37 years, with a starting balance of $40,000. And the account balances here are gross of fees, which means fees haven't been deducted. So the net balances would actually be somewhat reduced and the difference not quite the $142,000, but it goes a long way to demonstrate the small investments you make along the way and regularly really add up at the end of the day thanks to the benefits of compound interest. So your takeaway is just get to know your super. A lot of you seem to be quite on top of that, which is awesome. But small changes can make a huge difference with your super, and a little time spent paying attention to the detail can literally mean thousands of dollars over the years to retirement. And if you need to take some action on your super fund, look to see what you're being charged on your next or latest super statement. So some fees you might want to look out for are admin fees which are usually a flat dollar or percentage-based fee, and the MER, which is the management expense ratio, or it might be referred to as performance fees. And these are the fees that relate to the individual funds that your money's invested in. And they make the biggest impact on your account balance over time, given they're a percentage-based fee. Okay, ladies, so why you showed up today? You're tired of trying to figure everything out on your own. You want to get on track with your family's finances, and you're looking for some guidance and support to get you moving in the right direction. You've learned that being smart about money management really comes down to being engaged with your finances and having a plan. A plan that takes the guesswork out of knowing whether you're on the right track and helps you to focus on learning what's financially important for you and your family. And tonight I've given you a 7-step plan. I've done my best to give you as much information as possible, but in an hour it's difficult to really cover off on all the detail around that plan. And I know that this is a lot of information, but I've got something that will absolutely help you take this plan and run with it in your own lives. So let me ask you a question. If I had something to offer you that gave you the detail and helped you with implementing it into your own life, would you be interested to know what that was? Yay, nay, absolutely, no thank you. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Secret Money Business for Mums. It's a short 6-week money course designed specifically for time-poor mums who, when it comes to managing their finances, want to get smart about their time and money. A course designed specifically for busy mums who want to be shown what to do and how to do it when it comes to managing their family finances, who don't want to take the internet's word for it when it comes to their financial future, but can't justify the expense of seeing a financial advisor one-on-one simply to get on track with their finances. It's for mums who want relevant, practical and useful advice that they can walk away with that will improve their financial circumstances right away. This course isn't just another financial literacy course because that would be boring. This course is designed specifically for mums to give them the financial education they never got at school but should have, some realistic and practical advice which most courses can't give you because they're not licensed to give advice, as well as a shared learning experience with other mums who are all in the same boat. So let's have a quick look at how it works. There are 6 live weekly coaching webinars over 6 weeks, and each week representing a different area of household finances. There's weekly emails with web links to readings and resources. There's worksheets, how-to guides, templates, and resource lists for each area of your family's finances. There's a private members-only Facebook group with expert-led live Q&As to which you have lifetime access. And every live webinar will be a recorded MP3 and made available to you. And at the end of the course, there's a 30-minute private coaching call just to wrap things up where we can talk about anything that you want, whether it's something that's come up during the course that you want to know how to implement or handle in your own financial life. The whole course is delivered online. All the materials are delivered by email. The webinars are all delivered by webinar, the same platform that this webinar is being delivered on right now. Recordings are accessible online, and the private coaching advice call is, well, a phone call. So there's no waiting in the mail for paperwork. There's no onerous obligations in terms of big, lumpy course books. So what are we going to be covering? So in week 1, we're going to take a closer look at how our role as mum ties in with our money mindset and what it might be influencing yours. We'll cover what good financial management looks like at home, as well as how to set some financial goals for yourself. We're also going to look at the right habits to get into and how to get out of the ones that are wreaking havoc in your financial life. And in week 2, we're going to look at the best ways for families to cut literally thousands from their living costs and save more, guaranteed. We're going to take a step-by-step approach to family budgeting that works, and I'll actually show you how to build and set up your budget and what tools to use to track it easily. I'll teach you how to create and automate a cash flow system to manage money coming in and out of your household so you're not left wondering ever again, where did all the money go? In week 3, we're going to talk about debt, how to avoid it, how to use it, when to use it, and when to use different loan types. What to look for in a loan and how to work out a debt repayment schedule without having to give up your life altogether, as well as the different ways to pay off your debt that will get you debt-free faster. In week 4, we're going to look at life insurance, what it is, when you need it, and how to calculate how much you need without having to see a financial advisor. We'll look at its cost, different product types, and whether you have it inside your superannuation fund or not, and what the advantages and disadvantages of that are. We'll also look at what you should consider when choosing life insurance products, because there's a lot of products out there on the market, but a lot of the time it can be difficult for people to really look at what they need, and they may end up paying for features that they actually don't need or can't use in any case. In week 5, we take a look at how to decide if you're ready to invest. Then we'll look at how you feel about risk and how that impacts what you invest in. We'll cover off on the different investment choices you have, and I will highlight some opportunities for you to get started that don't require years of study or a financial mind good at picking individual stocks in order to make you money. In the last week, we're going to get to know your super a little better. So I'll show you how to work out whether you're on track with yours and how to work out how much you'll need to retire. We'll use examples and case studies to highlight how contributing to your super in different ways can impact your super balance at retirement. And I'll show you how to compare superannuation funds so that you can make more informed choices about where to put your money. Now this sounds like a lot, but let me assure you it has been designed with you in mind to provide the maximum amount of value with a minimum amount of overwhelm. I know you're busy and I know you don't want to know everything, but you do want to know and learn what you need to know to get moving forward and to feel comfortable with taking control of your finances. So I alluded earlier to 2 special bonus items. So as a special bonus for those mums that take action and decide to jump right into the course with me, I'm offering you 2 bonus modules, which will be made available immediately upon signing up with me. You could have them tonight. The first is a step-by-step guide to organising your financial paperwork and record-keeping systems at home, as well as for tax time. So whether you're a stay-at-home mum, you're employed, or you're running your own small business, there's some tips and strategies for everyone. The second is something I know will interest you all. It's a guide for getting started investing for your kids. I'm asked all the time what is the best way to start putting money away for the kids' future, or for those mum and dads that simply want to create an investment portfolio for them which they can hand over to them when they're an adult. And this guide has all the information you'll need to get started, including investment types, the advantages and disadvantages, considering the investment is for a child, and a handy summary table for comparisons so you can make sense of it all. So are you ready for relevant and practical to the point advice, professional support to guide and motivate you, and money-focused community support with a bunch of like-minded mums? Whether you've come along on the journey to learn and educate yourself further, or because you're at the point in your life where you really need to take action and get in control of your finances, Secret Money Business for Mums will do that for you. And my mission is to help you find the perfect balance between living the lifestyle you want now and planning and meeting your longer-term goals. So with all this value, what is the cost? Well, the total value is $1,997, which is calculated on a comparable hourly rate for the relevant professional services of a financial advisor for everything that's included in this course. But the course is open to the general public at an advertised price of $297, which is the special launch price for the course. So this represents an overall cost saving of 85%, which is pretty phenomenal given everything that's included over the 6 weeks. But what's your investment? Because you all showed up tonight, I know you must be ready to take control of your finances. And for that reason, I want to offer you ladies, you mums, a further discount and offer you your seat in the course for just $247, which is the lowest price this course will ever be offered, considering all the value and content included. Now we are kicking this group off with week 1, which will start on Tuesday the 5th of July at 8 p.m. The weekly webinars will be held live every Tuesday for the 6 weeks between 8 and 9 p.m. There'll be interactive webinars as well, so I'll be giving a presentation and helping you through the content, but we'll be able to address and tackle questions and concerns you have along the way. So right now I'm going to pop this link in the chat box for you so you can click on it directly and it will take you to the Fiscal Mum website where you can sign up. And once you've joined, you'll get an email welcoming you to the course with all the information you need to know, including how to access the private members-only Facebook group. Now this is really simple, but I do want you to know, in order to access the webinar special discount, you will simply need to enter the coupon code SMBVIP, as I have there in the yellow bubble, into the coupon code section of the payment form, and I've given you a snapshot of it up there on the slides. You just click apply and the payment amount will be reduced to reflect the discount. That's it. So let's think about your investment for a minute. What else would you spend $247 on? A night away somewhere? An overdue appointment at the hairdresser? A new pair of winter boots or a new dress? Or even a big week at the grocery store? And this is an opportunity for you to reflect on your financial priorities and ask yourself what has the ability to provide you with the most value and what has the ability to affect the most change in your life. So for a one-time investment of just $247, you will have access to the insights of me, a financial advisor, on the biggest challenges facing families, as well as an action plan for tackling those challenges. And you'll walk away with the ability to decide for yourselves what personal advice, if any, you may need down the track. My promise is that if you attend the live scheduled webinars and after 30 days you're not satisfied that Secret Money Business for Mums is for you, I'll refund your money. And in addition to that, if you have a question or a particular financial issue that isn't addressed or covered by the content included as part of the course, I will help you find the answer to it. So you've got nothing to lose. You absolutely will feel confident about tackling your finances and leave the course with a plan for managing your own family finances that not only relieves any anxiety around money, but creates financial results for you and your family. So here's another really quick look at what you get for this one amazing price. It really is amazing for the amount of value that's in there. You get the 6 live coaching webinars over 6 weeks, weekly emails, worksheets, how-to guides, templates and resources, a private members-only Facebook group, the recorded MP3s of our webinars, and a 30-minute private coaching call to wrap it all up. And the value in the course really extends beyond the course, given that you have lifetime access to this members-only Facebook group. And in there, I will be providing ongoing advice and support, as well as featuring other subject matter experts for future course participants. So we'll be featuring family and estate lawyers, accountants, mortgage brokers, experts in the field of credit card frequent flyer points, mindset coaches, you name it, it's all on the agenda. So now you have 2 choices. You can go back to being the lady or the ostrich trying to work it all out on your own, which is lonely, frustrating, and it will probably never happen because unless you make the time, you'll never get the time. Or you can be that mum that stumbled on the perfect opportunity to join a community of other like-minded mums, learning together with professional support, guidance and accountability, the mum who jumped right in. And this is your opportunity to come along once a week over 6 weeks and learn about your finances, ask me questions and understand how you go about relieving any stress or worry you have with managing money or your household finances. My goal is to educate, help and support you towards your financial peace of mind. And Secret Money Business will give you the knowledge you need to understand and know what makes a difference in your financial life and the community support you need to encourage you to take action. So one last time, here is the link to join the course. Simply fill out the registration form. We can pop that link in the chat box. Simply fill out the registration form and payment details and you're in. You'll receive an email from me with what's next and we will meet again on the 5th of July if you so choose. So that's all from me, all the talking from me, mums. I'm happy to take your questions now on what I presented, or if you have any questions about the course or if you would like some more information. So I can see we have a couple of questions. I've got one question here. It says, I barely have time to drink a hot cup of tea. Will I have time for this? I know you are crazy busy and we all are. You're a mum. And, you know, that's the last thing you need is an online course trying to teach you how to be the next Warren Buffett in 6 weeks, right? But here's the thing, this is not that course, because I'm going to teach you what can help you now, how to manage your finances to meet your day-to-day expenses as well as your long-term goals without the jargon. And each week you'll be able to walk away and implement what you learn into your day-to-day finances and see the real results straight away. That's the whole point of the course. And the weekly live webinar is held in the evening once the kids are in bed, so you can sit down relaxed and undistracted with a glass of wine or a hot cup of tea and a piece of chocolate, if it was me, and take it all in. It's really up to you. So mums, are there any other ladies with questions? You can ask me anything you like. I'm happy to take questions on anything. Hi Rowena, how are you? I've just seen your question come up. Rowena's asked, I have a question about whether your course would be suitable for me. I'm in a business partnership, not a lot of super, just not sure if it's for other kinds of mums. No, absolutely, Rowena. I mean, super is one part of the 6-week course. I gather, you know, every other week we will be talking about a different area of family finances. The weeks that we talk about super, we'll be talking about how to, you know, build what super you do have. And as I showed you throughout the presentation, it's even just really small changes. I mean, at this stage of our lives, you know, we're not approaching retirement, so, you know, we're not needing to get serious about, you know, transition to retirement strategies or anything like that. But it's the little things that we do at this stage that really make the difference at the end of the day. So definitely we can help you. I can help you. There's a lot of things we can still discuss. And, you know, a lot of what we'll talk about in terms of comparing super funds is relevant no matter how much super you have. So even with small balances, things like the fees that you might be paying, you know, those things are really important considerations, especially when you have small balances. So definitely able to help you and would love to see you as part of the course. Sarah's asked if I will be running these webinars again. At this stage, I don't have a plan to run the webinar before this intake, which starts on the 5th of July. There will be a recording of this webinar, but I will let you know, Sarah, if I intend to run any more live ones ahead of the July 5 intake so that you can refer them on. I will, of course, be running them in the future, and I will let you know. Hi, Catriona. You want to know about the Digital Command Centre one more time. It sounds funny when I say that, but it is. It literally is a digital command centre. Basically, it's a way of bringing your financial life into soft copy in one stage. So the first part of it is to create a soft copy folder or master file essentially, and you can call it whatever you like, but I always tell people to just call it their name, family finances. So whatever your last name is or whatever your first name is, or if you have a really cute nickname for your family, you could use that. Then within that, the things that fall within that are the subfolders for different service providers and accounts that you have. So you might have some for utilities, you might have one for phone accounts, just whatever it is that bills that you pay electronically, you can keep records of those in there, categorized by service provider. Also in there, I tell people to keep a one-page inventory sheet or a financial inventory or a financial stock take. Basically, it's just a one-page summary of all your loans, all your cards and bank accounts, all your investment and superannuation accounts. It's basically a one-page snapshot of the details of those things, maybe balances, account numbers, just so that you have a snapshot of your financial life on one page and you can see, really take stock of what it is that you have, what's necessary, what you could consolidate, things you may have forgotten about, and it's also just a handy reference tool for when you're communicating with any of those institutions about any of those accounts. You know, having to dig them out of your permanent folders can sometimes be a bit difficult. Hi, Rowena. I've seen your second question on debt versus, you know, starting to explore the option of investing with something like Acorns. I can't actually give you personal advice in this forum, but what I would say, generally speaking, about repaying personal debt before starting with your investing, generally speaking, yes, if you have personal debt, the general personal finance rule of thumb is that repayment of debt has to be a financial priority. But when we're talking about something like Acorns, I mean, it's essentially an app, and as we discussed, you can get started with as little as $10. So if you know, if you are learning about investing and you are, as part of that learning experience, you are exploring you know, the Acorns app, and you might want to put some play money in there, like $10, $20, as you've suggested, to actually, you know, you can't learn without seeing how it performs, right? So, I mean, that's a different situation. It's where you start committing large amounts of money to investments when you have personal debt outstanding, that you're really doing yourself an injustice. So yeah, I would say, based on what you've asked me, is it okay to have a play with Acorns even if you do have some outstanding debt? I would say yes, given the circumstances, given the level of financial commitment that Acorns is, and given that you're treating it purely as a learning experience, then I would say that would be, a good way to actually teach yourself and motivate yourself to get into investing. Absolutely, go for it. Does anyone else have any other questions? I'm happy to help while I'm here. My time has stopped somehow, but I think I've been talking for more than 45 seconds. All right, ladies, well, if there's nothing else, I might say good night to you. Thank you so much for being here. Just a quick thing. I will be sending out that budgeting blueprint ebook that I mentioned earlier in the webinar to those of you who are still here. I'll be sending it to everyone who turned up, but for those of you that are still here, if you do have access on your control panel or your control pane, there is an expandable section called handouts, and in there I have uploaded a copy of the budgeting blueprint ebook as a PDF. So if you're still here and you really want it right now, you feel free to download it if you can access it. I think all you need to do is click on it and it will begin downloading automatically. I look forward to meeting you too, Sarah. Yeah, Katrina, some examples of non-negotiables. Look, it's really different for everyone, but for me, it's a morning coffee, and that's blasphemy amongst the personal finance world, but I'm a believer that budgeting really comes down to personal financial priorities. And, in order for budgets to work, you really need to be the person that makes the decision about what's a non-negotiable for you, and so that you'll actually stick to it. I don't believe in people having to cull everything from their lifestyle in order to make a difference. And look, sometimes it might actually be the case that that's what needs to happen. It really just depends on everyone's individual circumstances. But where there's some flexibility, and I think there needs to be some flexibility in a family budget because, we're living in the real world as well. I would say things like a morning coffee, maybe it's a weekend breakfast with friends or just with your family that you like to get out of the house and do something a bit social and a bit special. Maybe it's, your annual family holiday, and you might budget something towards that throughout the year. It could be a gym membership. It could be a hobby that you have that, does take some money out of the household finances. Whatever it is that really allows you to sustain your life and your happiness and your ability to sort of keep going with things. I think it's important to allow yourself some expenses as long as they're reasonable and they actually can be afforded. And it might mean in order to keep those things, you might need to make a sacrifice on other things. But again, that's what I said. It all comes down to personal compromise, and that's why budgets are so personal. All right, lovely. Thank you so much for all being here. I really hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I really hope you enjoyed hearing about Secret Money Business for Mums. If any of you have any questions about the course or you want to know more detail about it, or whether it might be right for you, or you want to talk to me specifically about that, you can email me directly at rebecca@thefiscalmum.com. I'm happy to answer your emails. The course does start on the 5th of July, but I'll be sending you all an email tomorrow just with some more information. So once again, thanks everyone. Have a lovely evening, and I will hopefully see you all soon. Bye.